I've always been the kind of guy who doesn't ask for much. I work hard, I take care of my responsibilities, and when my birthday rolls around, I don't expect fireworks or surprise trips to Europe. All I want is good music, good food, and the people I love around me. That's it. So when my 39th birthday came, I told my wife, Madison, to keep it simple. Just some close friends and family in our backyard, a few cold beers, the grill going, and a decent playlist. The kind of night that doesn't look impressive on Instagram, but feels good in your soul. And for most of that evening, that's exactly what it was. The sun was going down, painting the sky orange and purple as we fired up the second batch of burgers. My old friend Jason was cracking jokes about how I still couldn't grill a steak properly, and my niece had just spilled fruit punch all over my new sneakers. And honestly, I didn't even care. I was laughing. Everyone was. People were relaxed, eating, dancing, and for once life felt light. Then she showed up. Madison had been quiet most of the day. She said she had errands to run in the morning, and I didn't question it. She wasn't the affectionate, party-planning type, and I'd grown used to that over the years. She helped set up the food table earlier, then vanished for hours. I assumed she was getting something last minute. But when she came through the back gate, just after 8 p.m., she wasn't carrying cake or drinks or a gift. She was holding a folder. She didn't say anything to the guests, didn't even look around, just walked straight toward me, slow, deliberate steps, like she was about to deliver a business pitch, not speak to her husband on his birthday. Hey, I smiled, still holding a beer. Where have you been? She didn't smile back. Instead, she held out the folder and said, loud enough for the people around us to hear, "Here are the divorce papers." And just like that, the music didn't matter. The lights strung across the yard didn't matter. The laughter behind me faded into static. My fingers tightened around the bottle without realizing it. My chest didn't cave in. It locked up, as if every breath I'd stored in my lungs just froze mid-air. I looked at her, then at the folder, then back at her again. I wanted to say something clever. Something like, really? Today of all days? Or maybe, are you serious right now? But the words didn't come. Not because I was scared, but because I was stunned at how cold she was. How calculated. She didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stood there with her arms folded, waiting for me to reach for the envelope like I was supposed to sign for a package. I cleared my throat and kept my voice even. "Come here," I said, motioning toward the side of the house, away from the crowd. We stepped out of the main area, just far enough that people couldn't hear, but close enough that I could still see my friends in the distance. Laughing, eating, living. I look her in the eye. "What the hell is this, Madison?" She shrugged. "It's what I've been thinking about for a long time. I'm done. I'm not in love with you anymore. I didn't want to fake it today." I looked at her, not the woman I married, not the person I once thought would grow old with me, but a stranger. And in that moment, as painful as it was, I saw it clearly. She hadn't loved me in a long time. She'd just been waiting for the right moment to say it out loud. And for whatever reason, she picked this day. My birthday. My night. "You couldn't wait a day?" I asked, my voice still low, still calm. "Would have made a difference?" She shot back. I nodded slowly. Not because she was right, but because I didn't have the energy to argue. "Not here. Not tonight." I handed the folder back to her. "Not now," I said simply. Then I turned and walked back into the party. Here's the thing about me. I wasn't raised to fold in public. I wasn't taught to break down in front of an audience. My father always told me, you never let anyone steal your presence, especially when they think they've won. So I walked back into that crowd, picked up the tongs, and flipped a burger. Jason came over and clapped me on the back, talking about something someone said inside. I smiled, nodded, even laughed a little. My heart was still racing, my thoughts were pounding, but my face didn't show it. I didn't know her a performance, but I owed myself dignity. Madison disappeared not long after. She didn't even say goodbye to anyone. Just walked out the same way she came in, without noise, without grace. And honestly, that was fine with me. People kept asking where she went. I just said she wasn't feeling well. No one questioned it. The party kept going, and so did I. I played with my nephew on the lawn. I poured drinks. I gave a toast, short and light, and people cheered. I hugged my mother, who whispered in my ear, "I'm proud of you." And even though she didn't know what had happened, it still meant something. Because that night, I learned something most men learn the hard way. Strength isn't about not getting hurt. It's about refusing to collapse when you do. I could have let it ruin everything. I could have made a scene, chased her down, begged for an explanation, cried in the bathroom. But I didn't. I stayed. I held the space. I let the people who showed up for me feel welcome, even when the woman who vowed to stand beside me walked out. And deep down, I knew something else too. If she thought that little folder would define the night, or break me in front of the people who cared about me, she never really knew the man she was married to in the first place. The morning after the party, the house was quiet. The streamers were still hanging from the fence. The folding chairs were scattered across the backyard, and a few empty beer bottles sat on the porch table, like quiet echoes of a celebration that had been interrupted but not ruined. I walked out barefoot, coffee in hand, and just stood there. Let the silence settle. Let be real. She was gone. No note, no text, nothing but the image of her face as she handed me that folder burned into my memory. And yet, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Not joy, not relief, just a stillness, a shift, like my body finally understood it didn't have to chase anymore. I sat down on the porch and watched the wind sway the trees. And I decided right then, I wasn't going to spend the next few months curled up in regret. I wasn't going to stalk her socials, call mutual friends for updates, or write long, emotional texts she'd ignore. No, I was going to rise and let her feel the weight of what she walked away from. But I wasn't going to announce it. I didn't need a new haircut or a post with some cryptic quote. I wasn't going to pretend to be over it. I was going to become over it, fully, truly, quietly. So I got up, cleaned the yard, took a long shower, shaved the beard she used to complain about but never appreciated when I did trim it. I looked in the mirror, really looked, and I saw a man who had been carrying dead weight for too long. That day, I made 3 promises to myself. I will not explain myself to the person who quit on me. I will not seek closure from someone who slammed the door. I will let my results, not my reaction, speak for me. And I meant it. That week, I went back to work with focus I hadn't felt in years. I stayed late, hit deadlines early, and started contributing ideas in meetings that made people actually turn their heads and pay attention. People started pulling me aside, asking where this version of me had been hiding. But I wasn't hiding. I had just been distracted, drained by a relationship where my worth was measured only by how quietly I endured. 3 days later, I got a call from a guy I hadn't spoken to in a long time. Daniel, one of the partners at a firm I had interviewed with years ago, before I put my career on pause to support Madison's goals. He said, "I heard from a mutual that you might be back on the market." I chuckled. "Depends on what market you're talking about." He laughed too. "Come have lunch with me. I want to run something by you." So I did. And that lunch turned into a consulting opportunity, a side contract that paid more than my full-time job. Then came a second call, a friend of mine from college who had launched a startup and needed help scaling. "Dude, I always said you had the sharpest mind in our group. You got time to take a look at what we're building." By the end of the week, I had 3 offers on the table, all because people had noticed I wasn't the man who disappeared after a heartbreak. I was the man who kept showing up. Stronger, sharper, quieter, but more dangerous. By the 10th call, I had tripled my income, scheduled a trip to meet a potential investor, and had the head of a major firm ask if I'd consider moving cities for a leadership role. All within 4 weeks of being handed those divorce papers. And here's the irony. Not one of those opportunities came from me chasing them. They came because people could feel the shift. People could see the difference. They could hear it in my tone, see it in my work, and feel it in my presence. Around the 5th call, Madison texted, "Hey, can we talk?" I didn't respond. 2 days later, I didn't think you'd take it this well. I guess I thought we'd have time to work it out. Still, I said nothing, because now she was calling out into a silence she created and finding it echoing back. By the 10th call, she sent a voice message. Her tone was soft, not manipulative, just confused. "I keep hearing your name come up. People are saying you're doing incredible things. I don't know why I'm even saying this, but I'm proud of you. I guess I just didn't know how strong you were." And there it was, the sentence I never needed, but had already earned. She finally saw it. The version of me she tried to bury under coldness, apathy, and emotional distance had come back sharper, harder, unstoppable. And the best part? It had nothing to do with her. She thought she was the center of my world, that her exit would leave me in ruins. But all she did was remove the weight that was slowing me down. I didn't respond to the message, not out of bitterness, but because there was nothing left to say. My worth had already spoken for itself. One night, about a month later, I ran into her at a local bar. I didn't plan it. I was just grabbing dinner with a few colleagues, laughing at the table when I caught a glimpse of her at the far end. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, but energy-wise, like someone who finally realized what they'd thrown away. Her eyes met mine, and for a second, it felt like the air between us changed. Heavy. I nodded politely. Nothing more. And you know what she did? She smiled, tight-lipped, regretful, then looked down. Because in that moment, she wasn't just looking at the man she left. She was looking at the man who rose. 3 months. That's how long it took for me to feel like I was living in my own skin again. Not surviving. Not coping. Not proving anything. Living. By that point, I had moved out of the old house. I rented a new place closer to the city, a quiet condo on the 12th floor with wide windows and hardwood floors. It had no history, no memories, just space and silence that didn't feel heavy anymore. I furnished it slowly, no rush, no dramatic makeover to signal a new chapter, just clean lines, solid wood, my own rhythm. I chose the colors. I picked the lighting. I set the thermostat to how I liked it, cold at night, warm in the morning. Little things. But for a man who spent years compromising everything for someone else's comfort, they mattered. The bedroom was the most important part. The bed wasn't massive, queen-sized, firm with soft gray sheets. But every time I lay down, I could breathe. There was no tension beside me, no cold shoulder, no invisible wall, no unsaid resentments hanging in the air. Just rest. And that rest, it changed everything. Meanwhile, her silence started cracking. It began with little things. A missed call here, a vague text there, then a photo she accidentally posted on her story, sitting alone at dinner, glass of wine half full, makeup perfect, eyes hollow. She never looked lonely when she was with me, only bored. Now, she looked like someone trying to convince herself she was okay. Then came the call I knew would eventually come. It was late, almost midnight. My phone lit up with her name. I let it ring twice before I answered. Her voice was soft, almost whispering. Hey, I know it's late. I couldn't sleep. I didn't say anything, just waited. I just keep thinking about that night. Your birthday. I don't know what I was thinking, Ryan. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought maybe it was better for both of us. But now I'm not sure. I see you everywhere, in mutual friends' posts, in conversations, even just in the way people talk about you now. You were different. Still, I said nothing. Because what was I supposed to say? Thank you? Too late. She kept talking. You're doing so well. I mean, everyone's saying it. Your new job, the way you look, the way you carry yourself now. It's like the version of you I always wanted finally showed up. That line made me flinch, not out of pain, but realization. Because the man I had become wasn't for her. He was born after her. Because of her, maybe, but never for her. So I finally answered. I'm the same man I always was, Madison. You just stopped seeing him. Silence. Then she said quietly, do you think there's a version of us that still works? I didn't laugh. I didn't lash out. I didn't even pause. I said, no. That version died the night you handed me those papers without blinking. She exhaled, shaky. Maybe she cried after that. I don't know. I didn't ask. I ended the call gently, with a calm, take care. And that was the last time we spoke. Some people don't understand what they had until it's too late. They confuse stability for weakness. They confuse patience for passivity. They see you show up every day, love through the silence, hold space through the coldness, and they assume you'll always be there. Until the day you stop knocking. Until the day you stop begging to be loved. Until the day they realize the bed they turn away from every night will now stay cold forever. I heard from a friend a few months later that she started dating again, that it didn't last long, that she talked about me a lot, not angrily, but like someone telling a story they can't rewrite. I didn't feel flattered. I felt distant. Detached, because by then, I had already started something new. Not a new relationship, not yet, but a new life. One where I woke up early, not out of anxiety, but with purpose. One where I made my own meals, kept my own schedule, read books again, lifted heavier, walked taller. One where I didn't have to explain my every mood or apologize for needing affection. One where I was seen, by myself first. And the most powerful part? I didn't destroy her. I didn't need revenge. She did it all on her own, by mistaking my calm for weakness and my loyalty for dependence. I didn't get even. I got better. And that, in the end, was more than enough.